Hey Zwifters, and welcome to another recon. This time, stage 6, we're back in Watopia and it's Climbers Gambit. The course that should test everything. Test your sprint, your threshold, your 20-minute power. That's what this course is designed to do. For those who remember, it was used for the Zwift Academy baseline and the finish line ride to test those 3 areas of your fitness. So there should be something here for everybody. And indeed, we've got 3 segments. We've got the sprint, the JWB sprint. We've then got the Titans Grove climb, which is about 1.5 to 2 minute effort just for the segment alone, but there is a rolling section before it, which I'll cover in a bit more detail. And then, of course, we've got the Epic Com reverse to finish this race off. A tough 18, maybe 20-minute climb to finish off this course. So let's have a look at what's available in terms of power-ups and then the course in a bit more detail. All right, so in terms of power-ups, what have we got? What are we going to use on this course? I have to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in the power-ups this time, but let's have a look. The feather, let's start there. Really useful. Again, it is quite a climber-heavy course, particularly the second half of the race, so that'll be really useful. Reducing your weight, improving your watts per kilogram, and making your climb that little bit quicker, albeit it's quite a short power-up to utilize. We've then got the burrito, and again, moderately useful on this particular course. If it is strung out, which is it's likely to be both through Titans Grove and the Epic Com reverse, and you just want to shift some of those riders out of your draft, then absolutely the burrito is the one to use. And then we have the anvil. Again, I think that's pretty, well, not very useful for this course, let's put it that way. There are not many opportunities to use it. The problem is when you get into Titans Grove, there's a lot of short descents. There are some longer sections as you come out of the Titans Grove, but how effective it's actually going to be to drop riders, yet to be seen. But those are your 3, the anvil, the burrito, and the feather. All right, so let's take a quick look at these segments. The JWB sprint, 200-meter sprint on the bridge, starts right at the start of the bridge. As you come over the SEs, you'll take this left, you'll see the start banner on the floor there, over the bridge, and just over the other side, you'll see the finish. Pan flat, although you've got this descent as you come into it, so utilize that descent well, utilize the draft as you come in there. And again, this is the place where the sprinters can pick up their sprints, maybe before retiring and heading towards the back with the gruppetto. We've then got Titans Grove. Titans Grove itself, in terms of the segment, is 900 meters long. It's not particularly steep, but it's actually the section before you get to the main time segment with the rollers and these twisty bends, which can separate the groups a little bit there as well. So you do have to be cautious. So look out for that in the recon in a little bit more detail. And then, of course, it's the main climb of the day, the Epic Com reverse, 6.3 kilometers long with an average gradient of 6.3%. There are a couple of sections where it flattens off for a few hundred meters, but you're basically going to be dealing with 8, 9, 10, 11% pitches throughout this climb. But again, there are some sections, particularly early on, if you just push through this first section, it flattens off a little bit, you can get yourself back into that front group, and then it's all about that final 15-minute push to the finish line. Let's dive in, let's get on course, and let's get through this recon. So we're going to leave the pens, take a right, and head out of downtown and up towards the SEs. We've ridden the SEs many a time throughout the last couple of seasons, these rollers, before we head towards this first sprint, the JWB sprint. You know that we're going to drop down this bank before we get to the sprint, so the pace will be lifting here. So make sure you're in a great position before you take this left-hand turn and head over to the bridge. You're going to hit the start of the sprint at kilometer 2.6. It's 200 meters, so therefore 2.8 is the end of the sprint, just after the end of the bridge. Just be cautious on these sprints as always. We always see some separation in the groups and the peloton, some riders rolling over the top to keep that pace high and cause that separation and drop some of those riders. So just be cautious of that as always. All right, so then we're going to roll through the villas and just head towards the Zwift Com. Now, we're only going to do this first section of the Zwift Com, but again, stay switched on. Some riders will be pushing up this 900 meters, head round to the right here, and then you're going to take a left and head back down towards downtown. All right, so just before we do get to downtown, you're going to hang a right here and head towards Titans Grove itself. Fairly undulating, you'll go through some tunnels, over some bridges, and then we're going to hit Titans Grove. Now the rollers that we've got to be cautious of are going to start at kilometre 8.5. As always, I'll leave all the notes of all the flat sections, the hilly sections, the roller sections in the Recon notes, and you'll find all of that in the description down below. So as I said, 8.5, you're going to hit this series of rollers constantly up and down until you get to a kilometre 11.5, and then you've got about 500 or 600 metre descent. It's after this descent, as it starts to pitch up again, that you're going to hit the official Titans Grove Com. So Titans Grove Com starts at 11.9 kilometres, about 900 metres long, and 6.6% average gradient. And again, you will see the finish quite early on. Don't be put off by the banner that you'll see on this right hand turn here. The banner's a little bit further on. It's basically two piles of rocks either side of the road. And the finish of Titans Grove Com is going to come at kilometre 12.8. All right, so at kilometre 13, you're going to start to descend off Titans Grove, and there is some opportunity here to use those anvils. Use it cautiously though, because again, it is quite rolling. So there are sections here. Anyone who's ridden either side of Titans Grove know that it does roll a little bit. So you don't want to be caught out utilising that anvil just as it pitches up again. All right, so from kilometre 18 to kilometre 20.7, it's a little bit undulating. You're going to go over some bridges, under some tunnels before you start to head towards the Epic Com. All right, so at kilometre 21.2, you're going to go over the bridge and you're going to see the snowy mountains of the Epic Com ahead. At this point, you're going to have about 6.7 kilometres to go. All right, so the Com officially starts at kilometre 21.7. You'll see the marker on the floor here on the right-hand side. Immediately, the road is going to pitch up to about 9, 10 and 11% in places. And again, I do expect that the group will immediately start to break up here. Now, this first section, if you could push through this first section, quite shortly the road will flatten off again as you go over the next bridge and transition to the final and next stages of the Epic Com. So push on through this first section before you get to the flat section and a chance for a little bit of respite. Okay, so at 22.2, as I said, the road flattens off a little bit of recovery here. Get yourself back into the wheels, catch up with those riders who are in front, get yourself a little group together before you start this final long drag. All right, so from kilometre 23, this is it. You're into the main climb here, and it is pretty much non-stop, for the exception of a few downhills or flat sections throughout, which I'll just point out in the Recon notes below. But it's pretty much 9, 10, 11% here all the way to the finish line. Just once again, kilometre 25.5, there is this little descent. It's pretty short, quick breather, but again, you're straight back into the climb. All right, so let's take a look at this final kilometre. So around about kilometre 27, you're still on this climb. It's still 9, 10, 11% pitches. Now, what you're going to find here is when you get to kilometre 27.5, with approximately 400 metres to go, that's the climb done. The road flattens off. In fact, it's almost a little bit of a descent to the finish. So dependent on your strength and how you're feeling, you've got to choose, where do you make your move? Do you make your move on the pitchy stuff before you get to that final 500 metres, or do you hang on to the wheel and make your move as you blast over the top? Cruise that final bit and get your hands in the air to take victory on what is an epic com. Again, I'll just let this final kilometre roll through again for you guys. So again, you can witness the epic failure in the epic 4th position, non-epic 4th. All right, so in terms of bike choice, it really depends on your strength or your weakness or your role in the team here. Because again, we're looking at 3 different efforts. We're looking at a threshold effort and we're looking at a sprint. So again, if your focus is to pick up those sprints first across the line and FTS, then go for something aero. Ensure you get those points. If your job is to climb and pick up those points, then go for something a little bit more all-round, maybe the Scott Addict RC or something similar. Unless you're going for sprints, I don't really think the aero bike is the choice to go for, unless you want to think about a change. I would go for something a little bit more all-round. But again, with that middle climb being like a 90-second to 2-minute effort, again, an out-and-out climber's bike, the gradients are not sort of 10 to 20% here. They're more 5, 6 and 7, which does make the majority of Titans Grove draftable. So something all round is what I would suggest. Not too aero, but not an out-and-out climbing bike as well. The Tron would be a safe choice on this also. The other way of looking at it is if you just want to make sure you're there or thereabouts at the finish and picking up those finish line points, you've got to think about where do you need additional support. If you really think that you can hold on through the flatter sections, but you really need that additional help on the climbs, then do think about something a little bit more lighter weight in terms of wheels and frame choice. But as always, I will leave the links to the Zwift insider pages for the most appropriate bike choice and most available bike at your level. All right, so in terms of Recon, I would go and ride the Ravecon. Sunday, 5 p.m. UK time. This week, it's Wahoo Lacole's Laura Perry, a great choice on a climber's course, no doubt, one of the superstars of the WLC team. So go and ride the Ravecon. I'll leave all the details in the description below. As always, guys, I hope you found this Recon useful. Don't forget, if you do not mind, give it one of those thumbs up. It really does help the channel out and this video a ton. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I do see that there's a lot of people who watch the videos and not subscribers yet, and I really appreciate it. Just give it a quick subscribe and maybe you'll get a notification each time we go live or we post a new Recon. Have a great week, have a great week's training, and I'll see you in Watopia for an epic climb on Climbers Gambit. Ride on.